If you completed the Nazisenkreuz Ordo World Quest, you would have come across a note referencing the legend of Ajax. The purpose of this line in the ritual scripture is to forsake the self and sink into the abyss, and in the abyss to welcome rebirth as a holy infant. The origin of this is a tragedy of unknown provenance that has been passed down by persons unknown to this day. Said play is called Ajax. Already some pretty interesting stuff, because Childe's real name is also Ajax, named after a hero admired by his dad. The note seems to be referring to the hero Ajax instead of Childe. However, in Hoyoverse games, such coincidence in names often bears deeper significance, especially if we look at the description of Ballad of the Fjord, which is likely narrated by Childe's parent while they're on a fishing trip. From the description, we learn that the hero Ajax discovered the country of gold. He also sailed a ship into the belly of a great whale and fought with a dragon. We can already see some striking parallels between the hero Ajax and Childe as we first encountered him in Liyue, a nation ruled by Morax, the god of gold, Deus Auri. And in Fontaine, Childe decided to throw hands with Neuvillette, who is the dragon of water. Eventually, he ended up facing the all-devouring narwhal. We can see that Childe's adventures are slightly different, but very similar to the story of the hero Ajax. Therefore, Childe sharing a name with Ajax is not merely coincidental, it is undoubtedly intentional to draw a parallel between the two characters. And here comes the important part. Further down the note it says, "Lies beneath the great sea" is itself an interesting phrase. It comes from ancient Sumeru texts and should be read as Narayana, which also means primordial human. In Hinduism, Narayana is a name for the deity Vishnu. In Vaishnavism, a branch of Hinduism devoted to the worship of Vishnu, he is revered as the supreme being who creates, protects, and transforms the universe. In essence, Vishnu is commonly associated with the four concepts of protection, sustenance, destruction, and creation, which is the will of a descender mentioned in the very same note, suggesting that primordial humans is just an alternate name for descenders.
Since Narayana means primordial human, and Narayana is also the name of Vishnu, a supreme being associated with concepts that correspond with the will of descenders. Narayana can be considered equivalent to a descender. This implies that primordial human also refers to descenders.
Therefore, Rheindotters' primordial human project might actually be an attempt to artificially create a descender. As a researcher from Khaenri'ah, she would have been well versed in their knowledge regarding descenders. As revealed in the Perrin-Heri book, Khaenri'ah actively sought descenders and even constructed an orphanage in anticipation of their arrival. Despite their efforts, no descender emerged for a very long time, until the recent arrival of the Traveler and their twin, who isn't even classified as a descender, but was directly summoned to Khaenri'ah. Hence, driven by both the scarcity of descenders and the profound fascination surrounding them, Rheindotter took matters into her own hands and initiated the Primordial Human Project in an attempt to recreate a descender herself. Albedo, a flawed imitation of the Traveler. Primordial human, as we previously established, could simply be another term for descenders. The third descender dates back thousands of years before the Archon War, with their remnants used to create the Gnosis. Traveler, the most recent descender to arrive in Teyvat, stands as the only accessible option for study and potential replication. The name Ether means bright upper sky, and Lumine means to illuminate. Both are associated with light. Meanwhile, the word albedo refers to the fraction of light that a surface reflects, typically that of a planet or moon, suggesting that albedo is merely a flawed imitation of the Traveler, capturing only a fraction of its radiant qualities.
Now you might be wondering, What the fuck is this guy yapping about and how any of this has to do with Childe?
Aesthetically, the Traveler and Albedo share notable similarities. Similar height, light hair, and white-colored clothing featuring star designs. Albedo even has a star-shaped birthmark on his neck. This connection with stars seems to be a hallmark of descenders or individuals associated with them. The Traveler is a stellar entity who descended into Tevat as a meteorite, often called a falling star, while their outfit is named Rising Star. Since Albedo is a reflection of this stellar entity, it explains the star motifs on his outfit design. Even in the conclusion of Albedo's story quest, he himself reflects on this similarity.
Those born of earth or those born of chalk are free of impurities. You and I are alike, both composed of a substance that has yet to be fully defined.
Childe, who debuted in version 1.1, the patch itself is called A New Star Approaches. Defeating him in his boss fight grants an achievement called Outlander versus Outlander. The term Outlander could simply refer to both characters not being native to Liyue. However, it's noteworthy that Outlanders is the term the unknown god used to address the twins, who are beings from beyond this world. His signature weapon is called Polar Star, based on Polaris, the North Star, renowned for its crucial role in navigation. Additionally, he uses the Foul Legacy transformation, a power from beyond this world that has yet to be fully defined. Because he was affected by the Irminsul and no longer remembers the Balladeer. He could, however, be a reincarnation of a descender that carries their soul. The play itself alludes to the concept of reincarnation, and the note is likely written by Renee, who wanted to become a descender to save Fontaine from the impending apocalypse. According to his calculations, the apocalypse would have occurred if unknown variables with powerful forces had not appeared. The Traveler was such variable, a descender. Further down, the note contains a magical seal called the Seal of Chemical Marriage. Jacob said it was merely a spell used by the Remurian civilization to seal the Primordial Sea, and it corresponds to 4 locations in Fontaine. However, the name itself suggests something very different. Chemical Marriage is a reference to the chemical wedding of Christian Rosenkreuz. It is a classic work of allegorical alchemy. It uses symbolism to depict the alchemist's path to achieving inner purification, self-knowledge, and union with the divine. Rhindottir's Primordial Human project was an attempt to recreate this divinity through alchemy. The circle portion functions as a seal, but the entire spell could be an alchemical ritual related to descenders, as it is a clear reference to the Kabbalah tree of life, which consists of 11 nodes known as sephirots, each describing a certain divine quality. The tree itself is often likened to a homunculus and is considered a blueprint of Adam Kadmon, also known as Primordial Adam, which sounds very similar to the concept of primordial human and Albedo being a homunculus. There are a total of 11 Sephirot, with a hidden Sephira. Similarly, there are 11 Harbingers with a potential hidden Harbinger. Nahida said that the top-ranked Harbingers,
up to number 3, possess power comparable to that of gods.
In Kabbalah, the first 3 Sephirot form the intellectual triad, representing the highest aspects of the divine intellect. They are considered the closest to divinity because they reflect the initial emanations of God's essence. The second Harbinger is Dottore, corresponds to the second Sephira Chokmah, meaning wisdom. The fourth Sephira, Hesed, signifies compassion, mirroring the nature of the fourth Harbinger, Arlecchino, a compassionate father who cares deeply about her children. The sixth Sephira, Tifereth, symbolizes beauty, which correlates with Scaramouche, the sixth Harbinger, described as a beautiful puppet. The 11th Sephira, Da'at, is a hidden Sephira where all 10 come together as one. The word itself means knowledge.
knowledge. You know, I'm actually...
Childe, introduced as the 11th Harbinger in version 1.1 on November 11th, utilizes the Foul Legacy transformation, originating from the Abyss, similar to Forbidden Knowledge. Knowledge, also the Greek translation of Gnosis from Gnosticism, conveniently happened to be the remnants of the third Descender split into portions. The third Descender is also the only confirmed deceased Descender in the story so far that's capable of potential reincarnation. Childe, being the third son of his family and sharing a name with Ajax, who is heavily connected to the theme of the primordial human and reincarnation, potentially carries the soul of the third Descender, just as he represents the 11th Sephira on the Tree of Life. They might be attempting to gather all 7 Gnosis, which constitute the body of the third Descender, and combine them with Childe, who functions as the soul, as a method to resurrect the third Descender. Because Natlan holds the final Gnosis,